Now, here's Michael Smerconish.
Do you know what you're called? Do you know what you're called when you sell more than 425 million books? You are called the world's best-selling author. And that title goes to James Patterson, and I'm so thrilled to have him with me right now to talk about the release of Fear No Evil. Yes, it's another Alex Cross thriller. James, welcome to POTUS. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, thank you. I'm an independent mind. This is a perfect place for me.
Thank you for saying that. We love critical thinking and independent minds. Am I right? This is the 29th installment of Detective Alex Cross?
I don't really pay attention. I just write the next book, and I'm already two beyond this one, so I don't really think about it. I just, I knew Alex Cross story, and I don't get tired of him, which is great. He keeps growing, and his family keeps getting a little old. But I don't make the mistake that like Michael Connelly made of like every year Alex has to be a year older. He did that with Bosch. So Bosch is now about 90 years old. So I didn't make that mistake with Alex. The next book, it's 2 weeks after the last book.
That's smart. What a great tip. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with Alex Cross, who is Alex Cross? What is his station in life? And how did you conceive a character that so many find alluring?
I think, one of the keys to Alex is that he's a family guy first. And I think a lot of us can identify with the notion of how do we balance our business life or whatever we're doing with our home life, with our family, with our spouse, whatever. And that's what Alex has to do, except that, his situation is very intense. He's this homicide guy, and I keep putting him through the ringer, as you can tell from Fear No Evil, where, the stuff the poor guy has to deal with there. The cartel's after him, and vigilantes are after him, and eventually a grizzly bear is after him. Try to figure that all in one book. But way back when I first started this series, Hollywood, every time they did a thing about a black guy, he had a boombox on his shoulder. And I said, this is crap. I grew up in a town, Newburgh, New York. It's about a third black, grew up that way, played a lot of basketball. My grandparents had a restaurant, and a black woman was the cook. And she moved in with us at one point, and I just spent a lot of time with her family. And I just have a sense. I had a sense for that family, and that's what started me writing the Alex Cross series.
In other words, that was the motivation. You thought, hey, there's a story to be told here based on this personal experience that you had with a particular family. Yes,
I think a lot of it had to do with that, and my town, and just growing up there, and just the way the people got along. And in those days, people didn't have guns. Worst case, they had a knife. So it was a different environment. It wasn't like it is now.
So in this book, Alex Cross, as you point out, is dealing with the cartel. He's dealing with rogue members of law enforcement. I've yet to get to the grizzly, but I'm looking forward to the grizzly.
You got to get to the grizzly, man.
Does realism play any role? Some of this defies credulity, but as a reader, I don't care. I want to be entertained.
Well, and every once in a while, a critic or somebody say, well, it's not very realistic. I don't think that's a valid criticism. I don't write realism. To me, I'm not comparing myself to Picasso, but it would like somebody looking at Picasso and going, it's not very realistic. I'm not writing realism, but I do think I'm writing things that people can identify with. I think they can identify with Alex's home life. I think they can identify, as I said, they can identify with the fact that the world is kind of a crazy place to live. It seems kind of more dangerous than ever in a lot of ways. And then we just tell a story around that. And it's somewhat symbolic, but I think emotionally it's true. It's, I'm doing a book with Dolly Parton now, and, it's a little over the top, but emotionally it's true. You really get a feeling for the music business and what it's like for somebody to come from nowhere in that business. And I think the same thing with Alex. You get a sense for what it's like to be a cop in this modern world. But a bigger than life story.
So is there, obviously there is in your mind an image of what Alex Cross actually looks like, even though Alex Cross doesn't seem to age. I'm just curious, if I were in your writing studio, if I were in your home, is there an actual depiction of what
No,
he
and
looks like?
I don't even have one. And some people find that useful, and some people don't like it at all. I think in the beginning, maybe a little bit toward Denzel or a little bit toward Muhammad Ali, a little bit, but not really.
Hmm.
I don't visualize him. I feel a kinship with him primarily because of his feeling about the family is the way I feel about my family. And the fact that he's, my grandmother used to have a saying, "Hungry dogs run faster," and Alex is that way. He just throws his all into it, whatever it is. I'm doing the best I can, and Alex is the same way.
James, the book is fast paced and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I still have the conclusion to go, so don't ruin it for me. I know you won't.
Well, I can't
But
promise that, but
but it's confusing insofar as the locations change and the characters and the shift and even the voice changes when it's Alex. Do you have a continuity person, like maybe it's one of your kids or something, who you say, hey, like I just finished this, but you better read it and make sure it all lines up?
well, hopefully the editor does that. That's kind of what they're supposed to do. So if there's any problem with that, we'll blame the editor. I'll give you her name after the show, and you can send her a note.
No, I
Yeah,
found
but
nothing. I was just curious.
yeah, but no, that's who it would be. I have a pretty good. I think most of the manuscripts I turn in are pretty clean. They're kind of, you could publish them, but it'd be better to have a run through with the editor. But I give you stories that are, in fact, even my outlines tend to be 70, 80 pages, and you read them, you go, this is a pretty cool story.
Is the outline something that comes from Post-it notes on a wall of James Patterson's studio? I mean,
No,
tell
I
me the
have in the
process a little.
background there somewhere. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little, and it's about this thick, and it's just ideas for books. And there's hundreds of them in there. The important thing about Alice Crystal, for people listening, watching, whatever, is if you like the cross books, this is one of the better ones. If you haven't read one, don't worry that you haven't read any before. You can pick this up, and it'll track for you totally. Good
I was
place to
just going to
start,
ask that
actually.
question. I
Yeah.
was just going to say, should people who like they hear, oh my God, he's written 29 Alex Cross books. I don't know who
Yeah.
Alex, should they be intimidated? And my answer would be absolutely not, because to open this book, you don't need to know any of the background about this character.
That is correct. My hope, and this happens a lot, people will say, I hadn't read one until I read this, and then I went back and I started reading a lot of the old ones, which I think is really cool. I mean, I read a lot of thrillers. I like thrillers. I also like nonfiction, but I like it when I discover a new author, and it's rare where I find when I go, like, I got to read everything this person wrote.
I guess it's self-evident. You wouldn't be the world's best-selling author if people had to go back to the beginning. Obviously, you can pick it up midstream. Hey, I'm dying to ask you a question, okay? Because I don't know what the latest number is. I've read 425 million. Whatever it is, it's a hell of a lot of books that you've sold.
Yeah.
I'm sure that when you're on an airplane, when you're on a beach, when you're leading your real life, I'm sure there have been many, many occasions where you walk by someone reading one of your books. How do you handle that situation?
Well, I used to sort of introduce myself, and then I was out in California. Arizona. I was walking around a pool. I saw a guy reading my book. I said, "How's that? How's that?" And he said, "It's not very good." So I stopped asking now.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. I tell you, it's a quick, funny story. I did a couple of times. I was on that TV show Castle, and I'm on a plane one time, and I'm walking down the aisle, and this woman's pointing at me. She goes, I know you. And I stop. Hi, how are you? She said, you played Patterson on Castle. I said, yeah, I'm going to play him. I'm going to play him on the airplane today too.
Do you spend more time thinking or writing?
I'd like to think both. I'm always thinking. And I'll be, if I'm driving in the car, a lot of times I'll be thinking about, and there's a lot of books I'm doing at the same time, so I'll be thinking about one or more of them. Sometimes I'll forget, I'll miss an exit or something. I go on my 2 exits up the line, and I'm going, oh damn it, because I was thinking about. I mean, I'm fairly careful, but I am a little forgetful. Oh, my house was back a mile, So yeah, I'm always thinking about. And as I said, I mean, going back to the beginning, this is play for me. I do not work. I love doing it. I do it 7 days a week.
I ask you that question because I remember once interviewing Pulitzer Prize winner David McCullough. I think it was when he published 1776. And I asked him some kind of a naive question about how long it took him to write the book. And he said, "You're asking me the wrong question. You should be asking me how long I had to research and think it through, because by the time I put pen to paper, a large part of my effort is finished." And I frankly hadn't thought about it in those terms.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually working at a couple things at the same time. So one, it might be in the research, one, it might be in the outline, and one, it might be actually writing the book. So different books. So I tend to be doing all the same things. I don't know what I am, schizophrenic. I don't know what it is, but I'm
James,
able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
If I looked over your shoulder, are you old school with yellow legal pad? Are you computer?
No,
what are you?
You're looking over. You're seeing a yellow. I don't have the yellow pad right here, but yes, it's yellow pad and pencil. I don't work on the computer. And the publisher doesn't mind. They don't want me to be any faster than I am right now.
But you're writing, so I imagine it's like dialogue that I would see you writing for the most part. Is that fair?
No, it'd be the whole book. Whatever it is. I mean, it depends on whether it's an outline or with the outlines, I'll tend to do 3 or 4 drafts. It's until I'm, and I'll go back and I'll change things. And sometimes I'll get, halfway through and a scene will change and it'll change everything. But if it's an outline, it's a lot easier to change everything than if it's the book.
When you began Fear No Evil, which is the new book, when you began writing the book, did you know a grizzly was going to play a role at the end, or did that come to you along the way?
I suspected it because I knew at the Marshall Wilderness, which is where it takes place, Bob Marshall Wilderness, I knew that there were a lot of grizzlies there, and I suspected that we would probably, I wasn't quite sure exactly where how it was going to play out, but yes, I did think a grizzly might be part of the finale there. And I love the idea of getting Alex and Sampson, his partner in crime. I love the idea of getting those two guys out into the wilderness, out on a boat and the whole, it's cool. I love doing stuff you go like that, the crazier it is, the better I like it. Like I have a character, Michael Bennett. He's a cop in New York. He has 10 kids. People go, "Oh no, that's impossible." That's what's great about it. And that's why nobody's ever done anything like it, because you go like, what? Who would do that? Yeah, me.
Are you more productive at a particular time of the day? And is there a special place where you do your best work?
Anywhere. I don't care. I could stop right now and start writing in the middle of this.
Really?
Yeah, totally. No, airplanes, it doesn't really matter. In the car. No, it's just stories are always going in my brain. It's a continual thing. I have 2 things in my life. I love my family. I have a small group of friends. Mike Lupica is one of my new buddies, the sports writer.
Sure.
And we talk pretty much every day, and we're both pretty funny. So that's nice. And then writing the books, it's very limited. It's sort of supercharged in a way, in a good way.
I'll bet it's not
I like talking
limited,
to you.
though.
We could be buddies.
You know what? I think we could be friends. I think I could be TC. I think I could be friends with James Patterson and tell him I'm not looking for new friends. I'm not expanding my circle.
Oh no, I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
No,
I don't let a lot of people in, not to be, unpleasant about it, but yeah.
Right. Exactly. And look, James, I am Larry David. Honest to God, I live a very Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm sort of existence. Well, I don't want to expand my circle.
Larry David is one of Lupica's buddies, and he's always talking. He talks to Larry every week. I don't know what it is.
Maybe the 4 of us, we get together. What do you think?
Sure.
What I was going to say is
similar backgrounds. Back, you're Pennsylvania, coal, whatever, Newburgh, New York, messed up, whatever.
True.
Same thing.
But what I wanted to say to you is this, and thank you for being so gracious with your time. I promise I'll let you go in a moment. The book is Fear No Evil. Fear No Evil by James Patterson.
I've got a lunch coming up that I don't really want to go to, so it's fine.
So what I wanted to say is I can tell that your gift transcends writing. Like I can just tell from being with you, you are a storyteller. You are a natural, like if we were having lunch or dinner, I'm sure you would take the floor and you would tell great stories, whether you're using your pen or pencil or whether you're using your mouth.
You know, it's an interesting thing. It's grown and with confidence. I remember talking to Morgan Freeman, who plays Alice Cross in a couple of the movies.
Yep. Yep.
And you watch Morgan on a set, he never drops a line. He never, and I said, what? He said, I'm so confident. He said, I know I'm going to kill the scene. He just has that confidence, but he didn't always have it. And similarly with me, and the breakthrough for me, and I didn't used to like public speaking at all. I was afraid of it. And I just started telling stories. And I found that the stories come out very naturally. Whereas if you sit there and try to write a speech, it's just a lot of prose and whatever. It's just, no, it's flat and it doesn't really work. But you tell stories to make you, and suddenly it works for me anyway. Yeah.
I love the book. Thank you for being here. I hope you'll come back.
Yeah.
Really, really fun to make your acquaintance. And if Lubica is game and Larry David is game, I'm available. I'll come to you in Florida and we'll play poker or something.
Yeah, a lot of people want to come to Florida in March. I've seen that.